chunks of it.
Right.
So I'm going to cut under, and I'm pushing in.
Oh, wow, you actually, interesting.
So is it okay if it shears, or is that not okay?
It's kind of the nature of the beast.
Okay.
It's coming off.
Yeah, it's coming off right now. You can see all that? But then when I get this, I just continually keep angling it in if it wants to splay out. And even now it's a little more splayed out than I want, so I'm just going to come and choke it up a little bit. And Dan, this, when I choke, I join my thumbs. So I was noticing your hands were like this. I join my thumbs, and that gives like 4 points of contact for the choke, and then it's a lot, it's a better, it's more secure and even kind of choke. So you see I don't have water here because I have this sponge here, which is catching a little bit of it, but also I'm just not using much water on the outside at all.
I find when I'm on the inside, my hand starts to catch.
Yeah,
with the
then you
walls.
need more water. You can stop and give yourself some more water.
Is your left hand at the same exact point as your
I'll come
right?
up. That's exactly how they were, just like that. I'm pushing against this
Against
finger
your
wall
finger.
here
Okay.
because I'm not doing like this on the inside.
Right.
I'm pushing. This is like my
Right
rib,
against your
Okay.
rib.
and you can see how dry the outside of the pot
Yeah,
is.
absolutely.
You can even feel it. I mean, it's really
Yeah.
not very
Wow.
wet. So I'm
You
not
guys are
throwing
gonna
with no
love
water.
this video.
And then I just run the water down my hand and touch the pot, and that will get it all the way down the wall.
Oh,
If you
okay.
do this, this feeds it all the way down.
Ah.
It's interesting, you actually push in at the very, very bottom. I mean, each
Yeah.
pass, the bottom gets more, a smaller diameter.
Well, remember that's the size I opened it,
Right.
and so what it does is it just makes I'm bringing that clay up.
You know what, Tom?
Is it 12 inches
It's
yet?
more than 12 inches. Are you going slower at the top?
Yeah, when it starts getting a little draggy, I went a little slower. So then
Dan slowed down.
I use this to take the water out because this is super absorbent. That doesn't absorb where crap, so I always have these two sponges with me. Now, when it starts getting thinner, I'll use the sponge in my hand on the inside because I don't want the drag and I don't want it as wet inside.
Mhm.
So, because I can't get it thinner, so then I switch to the sponge.
Interesting.
Are you shaping it now?
A little bit, but
Okay.
the sponge is being funkety funkety. I don't like that. I don't like that funk, so. That gave me a telegraphed wonkety wonketiness. So when it gets out of character like that, and I didn't like what was going on, that's what I was telling you to do, just come back and cone it back up again, and then you can kind of get back under control. This is when you have
Yeah,
to be like a
gotta get you
surgeon.
a little water on your arms even, yeah.
think that's about all the pulls I'm gonna get out of it. So now you can kind of look inside and see what it looks like at this point. It's still a little thicker here, but now I'm gonna do some shaping to it. And now I'll use the sponge. And now I'll go to my rib.
And is your hand the same as it was when you're pulling up?
A little different because I'm holding the sponge, but I'm still using that edge of
Okay.
my hand. Now I'm gonna do this in sections. I'm not gonna do like pulls. I'm coming out here, and then I'm gonna come back here. It doesn't have to be
Oh,
a
in one
perfect-
direction,
A perfect like pull, like you're raising clay.
right?
It can be, you can choose which areas you're wanting to bump out.
That's good to know. I thought it had to be one way
No,
up.
it doesn't have to be one pull because sometimes you want it really big here and not here.
Right.
And if you do one big pull here, then it's going to collapse on
Right.
you. So you don't have to, I always thought I had to come in and do it in one big stroke. But I might pull this out. And now I'll come back here. and
This
do
reminds me a
this
little bit of the
area.
way you trim, where you go a few steps and then you trim it all
Mm-hmm.
in steps.
And now this has got a little funky funk. This has got a little funky. Now I can choose to bring this out a little more to keep in relationship with this whole thing. And now all that's gonna come off. So that's a nicer shape. Let me see. Oh, and it's thick enough. I can, now if I want to, with no drag here, I can switch to a rib on the inside. It takes some practice and I'm not as good as this rib, but the rib on the inside,
And why-
again, will allow you to go wider without and I'm going much slower. It'll allow you to go bigger and more out without water. And the water will weaken and soften the pot.
Right.
And I'm bringing that shoulder back up. See, that's the rib right there. Bringing that shoulder back up because I think what I might want to do is make it into a bottle. There, and plus this gives a really nice, clean surface to the inside.